Well, that should have fixed it. That should have fixed it. Thanks for the comment, letting me know about the sound. So you should have some sound. Thanks again. I'll start all over. Again, Sam Torres here, the 440 Sports Show. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a lot of stuff going on right here in Ashtabula with all of our 8 Ashtabula County teams. We're going to talk about some tournament basketball that's coming up. We've got the matchups and the brackets are ready to go. So we're definitely going to go into that. Uh, Talking about some of the matchups, who's got a great chance of winning, who's really got an uphill battle. One of the things we're going to touch on. Another thing we're going to talk about tonight. There's been a lot going on in the last couple weeks, and I'm not just talking about this show. Ashtabula has been tested. There has been some tragic events. We've lost a couple, young people in various school districts um, due to self harm and that sort of thing. I'm not going to really go too far into that because in respect for the families, I'm definitely not going to mention any names. But one of the things I do want to touch on tonight is we're going to make sure that we provide any of the kids watching, any of the parents watching, some outlets that they could potentially use, and maybe start a conversation. As a parent, I know that some of the things that some of the parents right here in Ashtabula County have had to deal with this week are 100% a nightmare of mine, and something that I pray to God every day I don't have to. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I'd like to get through the basketball stuff first before we go too far into that. But let's start talking first things first. We've got coming up this week, actually, we're going to start with the girls basketball tournament and all 8 county teams. We're going to talk about who they're playing, where they're playing, that sort of thing. We're going to go into, what kind of season they've had up to. Let's talk about a couple standouts. I think one of the ones that stands out on the paper, that honestly jumps out on the paper for me, as well as everybody else out here. You got to talk about that first round and Edgewood and Casey Kanicki. It's a tough bracket that they sit in right there, as they sit with number one Columbiana, keeping a close eye on them. But before you can get to that matchup, Edgewood is going to have a very tough and a familiar opponent when they take on Geneva. So Casey Kanicki is the brand new all-time leader for the Edgewood Warriors girls team. I would assume that they're going to really kind of rely heavily on her for the scoring, but they've got some great players there as well. That are going to be able to score, including McKenna Venzel and some of the other young ladies there. And one of the people I really want to send a shout out tonight to is Randy Venzel, Coach Randy Venzel, who is the literal definition of building a program up. This is a team that had a couple rough years early in his coaching career, where wins were super hard to come by, and now this is a team that is a powerhouse within the CVC, and they've got a young lady by the name of Casey Kanicki, who I don't think is too much of a surprise and how good at basketball she is, because she's been that way for the last couple of years. But they've really all kind of they've all bought in. They've all bought in, and it's evidenced by all of their success. I'm just pulling up their. We're gonna pull up their last game against Geneva, and that's one of those things that we've talked about a little bit in football, where we saw that with Jefferson this year, getting to play Poland again and play Gerard again. You almost give the upper hand to the team who won the or to the team who lost the first game, because they don't really have to change anything. The team that lost has to change everything. They get to improve on everything, every part of that game, to try and get better. Um, but Edgewood with 17 and only 3 losses this year, there's really not too much for them to improve on. Although I'm sure if you ask Coach Randy Venzel, that there's plenty for them. Getting ready to take on Geneva. That's a team that they did beat in the regular season, 62-35, just a couple weeks ago, or not even a couple weeks ago. I'm sorry, 7 days ago, on February 1st. So that's going to be one of the most interesting, I think, early matchups here in this girls tournament. Also going in there, St. John with a tough pool, getting ready to take on Warren JFK right there in that first in that first round. They're going to rely heavily on Alyssa Severa. Alyssa Severa, they're going to need big shots from Grace to Salvatore. They're going to need good guard play by young players like Mickey. Are going to have to take care of the ball, get those shots ready to go. They're going to need that veteran leadership from ladies like Ava Oster on the boards, who are going to have to do their job. Warren JFK is a team that's ready to go. It's a high quality team. It's a high quality athletics department in general. Warren JFK. Anytime you pull them, it's going to be a tough. It's a tough pull. PV going to be taking on Liberty. In a smaller school, a lot of people like to think that they're a lot closer, but PV has got a great athletic program themselves. Those girls go out there, they play very well. It's a good team concept. They rely heavily on each other. So, look for that. Conneaut with a tough pull as well, as they're going to pull Canfield. Canfield, one of the YSN family, we're getting used to up here in Ashtabula County, finally getting a look and kind of more acquainted with some of those YSN schools. And Canfield is one of the tops of the top. Everything they do, they're a top level team. Jefferson going to be taking on Berkshire. Jefferson's got some really tough girls who can score the bucket. Coach Furman doing a phenomenal job with those young ladies. They play in arguably the toughest conference. Um, you know, I guess you can really get people all fired up in that regard. The NE8 is a tough conference. Match up twice a year, and they're ready to go. With only 4 wins, one of the things we talked about, with the regular season, and I'd love to hear anybody's input on here. Just for those of you who are just now tuning in or checking in with the show, with it just being me, we're going to have a lot more back and forth. Your comments are going to be answered. We're definitely going to try and get those. Keep the conversation going. I want to hear from you guys. I love Ashtabula County sports, and I pay attention to it as closely as I possibly can. But a lot of you guys are front row seats. If you're there every weekend, week out, and you're seeing something that you want mentioned when it comes to these girls, boys, or anything we're talking about, feel free to put it out there. I'd love to discuss it with you. And then Lakeside, the final Ashtabula County team in the girls there, they're going to play the winner of Solon versus South. Now, Solon is the number one team in that bracket. So Lakeside actually going to get a bye in the first round, and they're going to meet. One of the things I think that would be very interesting is if Willoughby South pulls off that upset. I'm sure Lakeside's pulling for that, because I think people look at the seeding numbers and just assume immediately that a lower seed is going to be a better fit for them. But sometimes those lower seeds, as evidence, we watched this happen with Jefferson in the playoffs with football. A lower seed, when they get momentum going, there's nothing stopping you. And I'll go to my grave believing that if they didn't run into that absolute chop saw that was Glenville, we'd be talking about the Jefferson Falcons as state champions. Once again, yo guys, thanks so much for tuning in the 440 Sports Show. Do want to let you know, on Friday this week, we will be going live with another basketball game. This one's a county matchup. I love those a ton. Ashtabula Edgewood taking on Geneva at Edgewood. Now, this is a game to me that's very interesting, because last year we got to cover that game, and Geneva comes into Edgewood and pulls off the upset. Now, there was a lot of talk and a lot of back and forth about, well, did Edgewood go all the way? Did they push as hard as they should have? Because they were set to play Geneva the following week in the tournament. But as luck would have it, or as fate would have it, I guess is a better way to put it, Geneva goes out and beats them back to back, as they win in the tournament as well, stopping Edgewood after a phenomenal year. So, I think there's some big revenge right here attached to this game, and it's going to be a really fun game to watch. It's going to be available right here on www.ysnlive.com. You'll be able to see it just like all of our other replays right there on YSN. I'm going to be joined by Jack Cafaro on the call, so I'm really looking forward to that. Jack is he's a great color guy, brings a lot of knowledge, and with this being Geneva and Jack being a Geneva student, I think you're going to get to see some insight on Friday. That's stuff you wouldn't necessarily know. There's, I guess, some locker room stuff that you may be getting be privy to right there on that game. But let's start talking about some of the boys matchups coming up here in this tournament. Starting off with Grand Valley versus Wyndham. Grand Valley's a team that, ups and downs. They've got some really great wins on the year. This is a team that can really score the basketball. With guys like Nate Boyarski out there, Chef Boyarski is a kid that anytime he's on the court, he's going to make a difference. So, anytime that kid's on the court, you really got to watch him. They've got a young man. His name escapes me right now. He's a post player, just a really great post for that Grand Valley team. They're a team that gets very hot and they play very good defense. They're a physical team getting ready to take on Wyndham, who is an NAC opponent that St. John and PV and those guys are well acquainted with. So a small school, one of the things about basketball that I don't think people realize is whereas football, you got 7 divisions. So there's a much bigger spread when it comes to, disparity from the top team to the bottom team. When you've only got 4 divisions, 150, 250 kids can be the difference in enrollment for this basketball. So you can have some very big schools that are still playing in the lower divisions because they just barely get over there. And as we talk about that, we'll move over into the St. John Heralds, who are going to get ready to take on not a county foe, but a foe that they are very familiar with in the Cardinal Huskies. So that's going to be their first one. That's going to be a tough one. St. John has been able to put it together again at the end of the year. They've got some young guys that are out there really scoring big time points. I would be remiss if I did not mention Vin Narducci, who has really taken on a huge role for scoring for this St. John team. This is a kid who, I think everybody's has been expecting. He's a great athlete. He's a great shooter. I think what's most impressive for me watching him, getting to check out St. John 3 different times this year, is his defense. This is a kid that's ready to get right there in the mix. He can shoot the 3 ball. He can drive. His dribbling has improved a ton. As a primary scorer, I think they can look to him on the younger side. When you go, still younger than him, as Narducci is a sophomore, you look at a guy like Anthony Severino, who's a freshman point guard coming out for St. John, that is able to kind of cut and cross over people. He's able to create shots for other guys. He passes the ball very well. And because of his ability to kind of get defenders to come in and require help defense, it opens up shots for guys like Jimmy Severino, who's his older brother and a senior. Matt Miller, who is a kid who every time he's on the court, he does everything you need. Whatever you're going to need from him is what you're going to get. He just does a phenomenal job, and that's in everything. And then, we got to talk about Jesus Hernandez, who, for my money, I believe when it comes to footwork in the post, may be the best I've seen in a long time. And I guess there's an argument for he could be the best in the county when it comes to the footwork in the post. I know there are some bigger guys. I know there's some guys who are a little bit stronger in the post, but Jesus Hernandez has the ability and shows it game in, game out to leave guys in the dust, standing at about 6'2". He's going to be a big time scorer for them. Look for him. Look for Narducci. I think if you're looking for guys in the playoffs, who are they going to lean to for the scoring? I think it's going to have to be those 2 guys. I think the rest of the guys are just going to have to do their job, and St. John stands a very good chance. This is a St. John team that started off slow, picked it up at the end, and it doesn't matter necessarily what you do during the season because everybody's making the tournament. So you can go out and you can lose every single game, but if you win, 8 games in the tournament, then you're a state champion. So nobody's season is over. Actually, it's pretty much just beginning. So keep your guys' heads up. Make sure you guys are practicing hard. Get ready for a very tough game against a very good Cardinal team. Going from St. John, who's had a tougher year record wise, we're going to go over to PV. PV, PV has come out 6 seed, red hot, on fire. Uh, Kisneric and Tyler Britton are the twin towers out there in the lake. These are guys. Tyler Britton, I'll start with him. This is a guy who's not just tall; he's a guy who's able to shoot the ball very well. He dribbles pretty well for a big guy as well. But I think what his biggest strength that I can see is his ability to get open. He goes down into the paint, he mixes it up, he gets some rebounds. He's able to pass. This is a kid who's, he's a true blue basketball player when he's out there. He's very effective. Kersnaric, you can't teach somebody to be 6'4", 6'5". He's another kid flat out can shoot the ball. And both of these guys have such a high release point. I don't even know how you could potentially block the shots that they're going out there. And with athletic guard play from guys like Noah Kowski and guys like Ryan Croston going out there. That John Moschel. John Moschel is a certified bucket. This is a kid I think that gets overlooked because of the taller guys that are able to be effective almost immediately. Moschel is a quiet 17, 18-point guy. Before you know it, he's lit you up. PV is going to be a tough team this year. This is a team that has been good in basketball. Basketball has become a culture since 440 has started. Since we were 440 in goal starting, 3 years ago, PV has always been a team that has been ready to play when it comes to basketball, and I don't think you can overlook them. I think people tend to do that because it's just this little town from Andover, and nobody expects them to be great basketball players. But before you know it, they're out there and they're putting it on you right now. Last week we got a chance to cover their revenge game against Fairport Harding. Fairport Harding is one of the teams that was able to get them early in the year. But, job that they have to do redemption on that team as they win that game by 50 points. I mean, this is a team that really shows that when it comes to basketball, if you overlook them, they're going to beat you, and they've been that way for years and years. And a lot of that is Coach Shantz has those kids ready every year, and it doesn't matter, who's leaving, who's coming back. They lost 3 guys a couple of years ago that you're thinking to yourself, how could you ever recover from that? And boom, right back in the mix is PV. Um, Moving on from PV, we're going to talk about Conneaut, who's going to be taking on Liberty. Conneaut's a team that had a slow start. One of the biggest issues they've got going into this tournament is the loss of senior point guard Ben Answervitz. Ben Answervitz, of course, a transfer student from Lakeside, joins the Spartans this year, providing an immediate shot in the arm. This is an offense that has the ability to score. Guys like Chance Loomis are silky smooth with the ball. Loomis is a kid who can score almost from anywhere on the court. He makes some really great passes. You've got a big man in Larry Ham, 6'4", I believe is what the kid is listed at. He's able to block shots, change shots. He's going to get rebounds. This is a Conneaut's a team that I think people are very quick to overlook, but they're very well coached as well. Coach Tallbacker, this is not his first run around. This guy has forgotten more about basketball than most of these young guys know. I mean, he's been around the game. He does a great job of maximizing his talent. Liberty's going to be a tough matchup for them, and when you have a tough start of the year, and you're 5-12, you're not expecting to have a great seeding. But seeding is just for the people who are putting the papers out. Seeding doesn't matter at all. When you get on that court, it's 2 teams going against each other. So I think it's something that I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these guys with the lower seeds right here in Ashtabula County are going to perform when they've been overlooked. Moving on from Conneaut, we're going to go to another team that started off slow but are absolutely on fire, red hot, and that is the Geneva Eagles. The Geneva Eagles right now 7
a 7-13 on a 5-game win streak. Excuse me, they've won 5 out of the last 6 games, with their only loss coming to Perry. And anybody who knows anything about basketball knows a loss to Perry is nothing to shake your head at. Geneva is an interesting team for me. This is a team, if you followed us since the beginning of the year, I had them as my preseason #1 team in the county. I looked at guys coming back. Anthony Kasicek, I stand by my pick early in that. I still think he's, if not the best guard in the county, he's definitely one of the best guards in the county. This is a kid who can steal the ball at will. He can drive to the basket. He's got guys who can shoot the ball. Barbo has grown as a player as well as physically. Luke Smith is a phenomenal athlete who makes a difference every time he's on the floor. I mean, these are guys that are going to make a difference for Geneva. They've got Canton South, which is a very athletic team. I can't say that I'm super well versed on Canton South. I know that their football team obviously is the team that met Jefferson in the playoffs, and if you've got a good football team, it's kind of hard not to have a good basketball team because you got the athletes. But Geneva in a tough bracket because they're in the same bracket with Jefferson and Edgewood, and we'll talk about that a little bit later because that's a dream matchup that has potential. And you know what? We may as well jump right into that right now. Jefferson has to take on West Geauga in the first round. That's their pool. Now, interesting fact about Jefferson with 2 transfer students coming in and making an immediate difference in Anthony Cavetta, who is ice cold. I call him AC air conditioner. That dude is one of the coldest basketball players you're ever going to see. Luis Padilla, who cannot be guarded when he is on fire. You're never going to be able to take the ball away from that kid. He is a monster as a point guard. Those guys, and then, they're built. Don't forget, Jefferson still has a couple other guys that could play basketball, part of that NE8 championship team. Grant Hitchcock, Joey DeGeorge, there. So and Rob Pisano Jr., who comes in and has filled in that role as a guard and his ability to shoot as well. Grant Hitchcock, he's a great quarterback. He's also a great point guard. He sees the floor better than most guys. His probably the best rebounding guard next to Zach Rice in the county. He's also, his ability to pass the ball is making open shots for guys like DeGeorge, for guys like Anthony Cavetta. Between him and Padilla, you got to pick your poison. Who are you going to put more effort into? And whoever you do, it's going to open up the shots for the other guys. Anthony Cavetta is a guy who's been able to knock down shots immediately. He's come into Coach Pisano's offense and become an immediate player. I would like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. Anthony Cavetta is an incredibly talented basketball player. I think this is a kid we're going to be talking about for years and years to come right here in Ashtabula County. Now, he's got some big shoes to fill out there in Jefferson, as they've had some great basketball players in the past. But, Anthony Cavetta and this Jefferson team going to be taking on West Geauga. I think they've got a great shot at winning that game right there in the first round. Moving on from Jefferson, we're going to go on to the Edgewood Warriors. Now, the Edgewood Warriors are the definition of up and down this year. They're very, very talented. Sorry, let me pull that right back up. A very, very talented team, 11-9. And they've got some of the biggest scoring capability in the county. Anthony Hunt is one of the best point guards in the area for sure. This is a kid who is able to get to the rim at will. He has shown that he can be a great defender. This is a kid who can shoot the ball. They've got Logan Cray, who is a premier rebounder. This kid is a monster on the glass. He's also able to shoot the ball. James Montanaro is overlooked with his scoring ability game in, game out, and I think that is the biggest reason why teams get I don't know why they're still getting surprised. This kid has been able to knock down the 3 ball for 2 years. He has always been able to give Edgewood points, even when he was an underclassman. I don't know why people thought it was going to change this year. This is a kid, when he plays excellent lockdown defense, and his shot from 3 has been able to start serve as almost like a microwave for the Edgewood Warriors in some of those games. Able to, he gives you 12 points before you can blink an eye. And you can't talk about Edgewood without talking about Zach Venzel. I mean, Zach Venzel, 45 points on Harvey. I mean, this kid is an absolute scoring machine. He's been able to do it since the very beginning. This is a kid I think they knew was going to have to come in for the Edgewood Warriors and make an immediate, he had to take on that leadership role. They left 21 points a game when Ben Welty graduated from Edgewood. So losing 21 points a game, somebody had to step up, and that somebody this year was Zach Venzel. This is a kid who was a little bit more of a spot shooter last year. He was a guy that, kind of in that role that Montenero plays this year for the Warriors. He was a guy, you got open, he can knock down shots. And I think one of the most impressive parts of his game this year, his biggest addition, has got to be his ability to create his own shot. This is a kid who, spent some time, obviously, in the offseason, dribbling the basketball, moving around picks, moving well without the ball. When he has the ball, he's able to get past defenders, and he makes great passes. So, all that on top of the fact that he is a sharpshooter, and he can hit you from mid-range or the three-point. They got a great team there, and they are excellently coached by Coach Bowler, who is much in the same breath as Coach Tallbacka. This ain't his first tournament. This is a coach who knows how to deal with his talent and knows how to get the best out of them. And as they're going to start off the tournament. Let me pull it up again. I'm sorry. All right, they're going to start it off with West Branch. So West Branch is a tough team. That's a tough pull for the first round, but well within Edgewood's wheelhouse. It's something that Edgewood can pull off, and obviously I'm pulling for all the Ashtabula County teams to win in that first round. But I really have a vested interest in both Jefferson and Edgewood, because if Edgewood and Jefferson both win their first round game, we got a dream matchup right here, folks. Edgewood and Jefferson meet each other in the second round. And now Edgewood and Jefferson already met once this year, and Jefferson able to beat them 53-45. And that's something that I'm sure stings. And when it comes to, getting payback, there's no better time to do it than in the tournament. But I will tell you, I don't think payback's going to come easy, because Jefferson is red hot. This is a team that, makes it all the way into the regional last year before they finally get knocked out by a great team. And Coach Pisano has got those guys ready. I know, again, me personally, I'm really hoping that we're gonna get a chance to see that matchup, because I think it would be great for not only the county, but the YSN and basketball in general. So I'm going to go to a quick word from some sponsors. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about some tragic situations that have happened right here in Ashtabula County, as well as a tragic situation that is continuing to develop for our YSN family right there in East Palestine. It's not going to be anything too crazy, but we'll be back here in about 2 minutes.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
Thanks again for sticking around. 440 and 440 Sports Show. It'll take me a good long while to not throw that and goal at the end. I can promise you that. But it's the first show we're doing. We're going to be back to doing some weekly shows. Got some stuff lined up here in the future. We're going to be talking about tournament play, and next week I'm going to do some focus on some wrestling as well. Honestly, I just didn't have enough time to grab some of the stats to pull those into this, but we haven't forgot about you, wrestlers. I know how hard you guys work, and I just want to tell you personally how proud I am of all of our area guys, and not just our area guys. I want to send a shout out to all the YSN family as well. We got a great, one of the things that makes me so proud about becoming part of this YSN family is Ashtabula. While a large county in size, school-wise, only eight schools here, so relatively small, but we joined this huge family and this huge network of wildly successful and teams and groups that are going to help push us up to the forefront. And I'm just so excited to be a part of this. And as the relationship continues to develop, we got to do one of the things I'm grateful for is I got a chance to go to Las Vegas for the first time. I've never been west of Chicago. This weekend I got to hang out with three great guys in DJ, who's obviously the owner of the company and the face of the company, and the guy who, if you know YSN, you know Yoakley. I got to hang out with Richie Giuliano, who's got the smoothest voice I've ever heard since Casey Kasem. And I really got a chance to meet and learn and get to be good friends with my man, Ty Bartell, who covers Fitch like nobody's business and does great in everything he does. So it was just a super fun weekend. And if you guys want to check out some stuff, we did a lot of stuff for NFL flag football. We got a chance to work with Game Changer. It was a great weekend. Flag football is something that is growing and going to continue to grow for the next, umpteen years. So if you don't know anything about it, it's a great time to jump in. It's really starting to pick up. A lot of people are learning it. It's a great way to keep kids safe while teaching them the game while they are continuing to develop. Because sometimes with those younger kids, you want to get that foundation, that bedrock solid. Flag football offers that. But yeah, so that's that. I do want to get into a little bit of what's going on. In Ashtabula, in the past 2 weeks, we've had 2 tragic deaths of young people. And I talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the show. It's something that it doesn't happen very often, but every time it does happen, it hits you right in the heart. I'm a father of 3. I have a 15-year-old daughter, a 13-year-old daughter, and a 3-year-old daughter. I'm, 36 years old, and as much as I like to believe that I'm not that far removed from high school, I guess it's a little bit farther than I can realize. But the one thing I do remember from high school, while there's a lot of great, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of high, there's a lot of low, and it's tough. And as an adult, I think sometimes we forget it, and it's always a good thing to reach out to these young people, even if they're smiling, and just make sure they're okay. Because sometimes the biggest tears come behind the people who smile in your face. Um, I want to put this on the screen now because I want anybody who's watching this now or in the future. I want you guys to take these numbers in and write them down. If you're watching it, take a picture of it. Send it to somebody you love. Suicide, self-harm, crisis, those sort of things. These are all things that can be avoided, and it's a temporary solution to it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I can promise you, kids, and I'm sure you guys have been told this 100 times in the past. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It's never worth hurting yourself. It's never worth taking yourself out of this world. Whether you believe it or not, people love you. People care about you. Sometimes it's hard to see that. Sometimes the world gets heavy. But no matter where you're at, I can promise you, if you don't, if your home life's not great, there are teachers who love you. If you don't have a connection with a teacher, you got friends who love you. If you're if you've got teammates, you've got schoolmates, there's always somebody. And if you don't feel like you have somebody, there are numbers, there are places you can go. There are people you can talk to that can help you through this. It's never worth it. It's heartbreaking to see young people with such a bright future, and whether you believe you have a bright future or not, I promise you, you do. Everything is your opportunities all begin tomorrow when the sun comes up, and they'll begin again the day after that, and they'll continue to do it. We all make mistakes. We all fall down. We all have days. We all have months. We all have weeks, months, and sometimes we even feel like years where nothing is going right, and we're at our lowest, and you can't see the light through the tunnel. And when what you're dealing with is the most important stuff that you're dealing with right now. I understand all that. I don't necessarily know everything you're going through, but what I can promise you is that it's never worth hurting yourself, hurting others, anything like that. I think one of the greatest things we've got available now, that you text for hope to 741-741. Within 5 minutes, you're going to be able to talk to somebody. Somebody's going to listen to you. And I think, if you are one of those kids who feels like nobody's ever listening to you, or nobody cares, there are people, and they will listen to you. And I think if you give yourself a chance, if you talk about it, if you get it out there and you let these feelings be known, I don't care what the feelings are. We don't have to understand your feelings. Nobody has to understand your feelings, but there are people who will listen and let you get it and walk yourself through this. It'll be better tomorrow. It'll be a better day tomorrow. I've had some of the best days of my life in high school. I've had some of the worst days of my life in high school. The one thing that remains true is that the next day, I always had a chance to change whatever happened the day before. And so do you. And for all of the kids that watch this now or watch us in the future, one of the things I'd like to do is I would like to challenge you. I would like to challenge you to reach out and check on your friends. A simple text, a simple, "Hey, how are you? Is everything okay?" Those things can mean the world to people. It can be the difference. To the parents, I challenge you to do your best to try and engage your kids. Ask them how they're doing. See what's going on, even if you don't understand it. Sometimes they just want to get stuff off their chest. We focus on sports, and that's what my passion is. But the reason why I have a passion for sports is because I love kids, I love this area, and I want everybody to understand that there is hope. And this is the best way I know how. I don't want to continue too far on this path, but I just want it to be known. I will be sharing some graphics. I will be sharing some some different outlooks, outreach programs you can get to. I'm if there are any counselors or anybody that wants to send me emails or something like that where I can push that stuff out to these kids on Instagram and Facebook and all these social medias, I would love to do it. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes that happens in situations is kids feel like they're alone, nobody cares about them, or that they don't matter. One of the things I try to do my very best for every single person that watches this show, for every time I'm calling a basketball, football, swimming, wrestling, whatever I'm at, I want you kids to know you're special, because you are. You matter. Everything you do matters. Everything you do is appreciated. I'm grateful to you for all of your hard work. And I hope that at some point you all can realize that and you can take it and understand how important you truly are, not just to us, not to me, not just to your parents, but to the world and to yourself. You're important. You matter. You matter. Whether you believe it or not, you matter. And if it's dark today, it won't be dark tomorrow. You have the resources. There are people out there who will help you. There are people who love you. And if you can't find it, look here. I will find it for you. I will provide. There will be places on our Instagram where you're going to be able to find these numbers. These are numbers that you can text and you talk to them. This isn't like, this is between you and your counselor. It's nobody else's business. So whatever's bothering you, whatever's going on, you talk to them and they're going to help you through it, and nobody will judge you. You don't have to worry about them telling your parents. You don't have to worry about them telling your girlfriend, your best friend, none of that. It's you and your counselor. You guys can figure it out. It's an outlet. It can help. Like I said, a little bit of a different tone than the show typically takes, but this week in Ashtabula County, we lost 2 young people, far too young, far too soon. And my heart goes out to the Andover community and Pymatuning Valley High School and all of those kids who, are grieving through this process and trying to wrap their head around the finality of what's happening and what happened. My heart goes out to my alma mater, Lakeside High School, who lost a young lady this week, also far too young, far too soon. This is something that can be avoided if we all try. And I know how corny that sounds. But like reaching out, I'm 36 years old and I still text my friends on a regular basis to make sure they're okay. There is nothing wrong with caring about people. There is nothing wrong with checking on people. Their mental health is real. Mental health is important. And for all the jokes and stuff that happens, behind closed doors and amongst, friend groups and stuff like that, you got to understand, you got to take it seriously, because you never know you're going to need that help until you do. And it's my prayer, it's my thought, it's my energy. I hope, whatever you guys believe, I'm obviously a Christian. My prayer is that when that time comes and you are at your lowest of low, that somebody out there cares about you and that you can reach out. And if you don't have an outlet, then right here, you can call that number 988 or you text 4HOPE 741 and you can talk to somebody who can help you through it. And while we've got, again, that'll all be on Instagram. That'll be on Instagram, and I'll make sure I'll start publishing that stuff. And if you have any questions, feel free to message. I'm not a licensed counselor. I can't provide you counseling, but what I can do is if you're in trouble, I can lead you in the right direction. I can help you find that help that you need. So understand this. If you don't think anybody cares about you, I do. I care about you. Another, I got to move on. We have two huge losses right here in Ashtabula County, and also a national disaster in East Palestine, which is the home of YSN and a home of my good friend DJ Oakley and the headquarters, and there's so many people, and I've got direct ties there as my wife is from that area as well, and she's got friends that got evacuated during this tragic accident that in 100 million years you would never see. And as somebody who has tracks right behind his house, I can only imagine the stress and the worry that is going on to all of the East Palestinians. And I just want to send out my genuine condolences for anybody who's having to deal with this at this time. I hope you keep your head up. I hope you guys band together. East Palestine is a small community, maybe not exactly like Ashtabula, but similar in that it's a community that's going to have to band together and overcome these great odds that are against them. And I think they're going to do it, from my little bit of time out there, and dealing with great people like DJ Oakley, East Palestine. They produce some of the best of the best. And I know that you guys will build back better and that you guys will overcome this and become stronger. And I'm just glad that, it's starting to get under control. And my prayers go out to any of the families who lost anybody. If that happened, I haven't kept up on fatalities and stuff. To the families who lost everything, houses, whatever, to the families who are going to be dealing with environmental disaster stuff for the next couple of years. My heart goes out to you. I hope you guys continue to thrive and, just kind of lean on each other, I guess, is the biggest part of tonight's show. We got to take care of each other, because if we don't take care of each other, we ain't going to have nothing left. Whether it's East Palestine with the train accident, these two school systems that have lost young people way too young, let's start taking care of each other, man. That's all. We're all we got. We're all we got. And to all you kids out there watching right now, I'm serious. Call it the 440 challenge. I don't care what you do. Reach out and talk to somebody. Make sure they're okay. Make sure they're okay, because one text can make a difference. For the 440 Sports Show, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I'll see you guys next week. We're going to have some more results. We'll talk some more wrestling. My name is Sam Torres, and I'll see you guys next week.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.